Welcome to the Steel Birds podcast, starring your hosts Corey King, Harry Brockington the fourth, Brock for short. Um, this is your podcast for everything Steelers, Eagles, and just the NFL in general. Me and Brock go way back. Um, and everybody got a podcast these days, but I feel like we have takes worth listening to,
Right.
and we have a good we have different perspectives on the game. We both grew up playing it. We played in college, but now the path that we took, it's more like there's two different sides to our views on the game. And shit, I'm more the nerd, analytical, using the PFF stats and all the analytics and shit. And he's a little more old school with it, but not
Wow.
too old school. So yeah, what's good, Brock? How you doing?
What's up, man? Doing good. Yeah, man. I feel like you know um, we both have a lot of takes that we agree on, but yeah, you are more of the analytical side. You base your arguments and why you think whatever based off of the numbers, stuff like that. Which that's not bad or anything like that, but I'm more of like the film guy, and that's
For
the
sure.
route that I definitely want to end up in is doing NFL analysis, draft stuff. I love watching film, watching games over,
Yeah.
watching the
Yep.
reps. So for me, that's how I back it up. Like, oh, you think this dude is fast, or you think this dude has a good route tree? Well, I mean, I just watched 3 games, and that doesn't really, that's my thing with that.
For
So,
sure. For
um,
sure.
but there's nothing wrong with that. We both played the same position. We're both different type of running backs, so it's like it's that type of thing too. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, man, been knowing you since sixth grade, I believe. Went
Yeah, I think
to
so. Youth track days.
yeah, that's when I first met you or whatever. Then went to rival high schools. Rival high schools.
All right. Maybe in
but
other sports.
yeah, but yeah, just always kept in contact, man. And it was it could have been through anything, but it was we always talked ball, man. We would talk sports, and we're both Lakers fans, so we always talk basketball. But football was always the forefront, I feel like, of a lot of things. And so I feel like it was
Oh
just a
yeah.
long time coming. Definitely got to start getting our ideas out there. And so, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Facts. Just go back to what you're saying. Yeah, I would say you're definitely more the draft college guy. I would say I'm more like NFL focused, analytics, numbers. So I feel like you know it's a conversation worth listening to. We won't take up too much of your time, but
Yeah.
you want to hear some takes on the Eagles and Steelers, this is the podcast for you. So just to since it's the first one, I just wanted to like ask you more like about your background and shit. Like you know how much knowledge of the game would you say you had? How much ball did you play growing up? All that. If you want to get into that a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, originally my first sport was basketball. I didn't start playing football. I played basketball when I was like 4. And then I didn't play football till I was 8. Um, Ran track, played baseball, but football was always like, I was just always very much, in love with football, just the fast pace, the camaraderie, being with your boys. It just there's something about it I just always love. But I never really watched the NFL when I was elementary school. I would watch always Steelers games because my dad. There was no way that the Steelers were playing and that game wasn't on. But like the way I watch it now, I wasn't really watching it like that. I was more college. I'd watch college guys, and so I really liked Adrian Peterson growing up and stuff like that. I wanted to model my game after him and things like that. And even in high school, my dream was never to go to the NFL. I just wanted to go to college for free. That
Oh,
was
for
my
real?
thing. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, no, that was never my thing. I just my parents had told me, man, like you want to go to college, or you gotta have a way to pay for it. So for me,
No
I
doubt.
didn't know what that was gonna be, but when I got into high school and I started seeing, how I matched up against certain dudes, my speed and stuff like that, that was where I was like, okay, I can play in college. But it was like, if I don't make it to NFL, that's cool. But senior year is kind of where I was like, if I can work hard enough to do this, that's kind of where I want to be. So for me, then I kind of took it more serious. I did start watching, more NFL games, and I feel like even at the time I didn't know it, but that's kind of where it started, where I would watch, Mel Kiper Jr., Field Yates, and these dudes, getting ready every single year.
Daniel Jeremiah, all them.
Darren
Yeah.
Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, those guys, like getting ready for the draft, and like I just kind of always was like, all right, well, what do these dudes, get to the Steelers? The Steelers can be better at wide receiver, edge rusher, whatever. But then I kind of like started any team I was like excited for. I'm always pulling for the Steelers first, but like any team I was excited, like if they're terrible up front on the line, okay, what offensive lineman can they get? And so that's kind of where it started, where I feel like I kind of fell in love with that process, but it just didn't click with me until recently. Like that's what I wanted to do. So that's just kind of my thing about it. I love everything about ball. I'm not just watching, the quarterback throw to the wide receiver. I'm not just watching the cornerback take the interception to the crib. I'm watching the offensive lineman. I'm watching I'm listening to the checks and stuff like that because we play, so we know what some of these lucky Roy some of these calls what they mean. Where the average fan is like they don't know that means the line's shifting to the left or you're watching something on the right side type of thing. And so that's where I was kind of just like, yeah, man, like this is what I love to do. This is what I'm obsessed with doing. Anything that you feel that way about, it's worth your time to make a profession out of it if you can do that. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I noticed that too. Like I don't even watch the ball during games. Like the camera will take you to where the ball's going, so
exactly.
you can see everything, and then the ball will end up wherever you're looking because that's how they film the shit.
Right.
Um, but yeah, just to get in my background a little bit. Same kind of deal growing up playing football, basketball, all that. My first year of football actually it was like flag when I was like 6 and I was awful and I was like the center, couldn't even play like the other positions because I think I was 6 and my sister was 8, so we were on the same team, so like the kids were
Mm.
older but I was just out there. And then the next year I actually started getting good at it, and then after that I started playing tackle and I was balling a little bit, and then the NFL dreams came but they ended quick. Once you get to like high school then you're like I don't know about that. I
Right.
remember specifically my junior year, we were playing Sarah, ran over the linebacker. I was running to the house out of nowhere. I see a Dory Jackson come,
Oh, I
lay
think I
my
remember
ass
that.
out, and I landed the one. And I'm like, yeah, I go to the league.
Right.
That was it. But yeah, no. Then since then, played some college ball out in New Hampshire, and then started working for PFF part time after college. And now I work for a company doing like research and analysis and stuff for TV broadcasts. So I've been in the sports world for a while now, and I'm enjoying it. So you know, like,
Right.
but
Right.
of all the sports, football is the one that I love the most and want to talk
Definitely.
about the most. So yeah, here we are.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, let's transition now into free agency, I guess, and our team specifically.
Let's get it going.
All right. I think I'll start it off first. Just it's a little bit of old news now. We're recording this Friday, March 15th, but just had to shout out Jason Kelsey. He retired, Eagles legend. Um, changed the franchise. I don't know many offensive linemen who are like the face of the franchise, but for him to do that and to play his whole career for the Eagles is legendary. I don't think we're going to see that probably in our lifetimes, let alone for any position, let alone a center. So
Right.
just great to see. Shout out to him. And then after shortly after that, Fletcher Cox retired, another Eagles legend. Two big locker room guys. It's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic works out.
Right.
How the locker room's going to play out. And then just kind of breaking news today, Aaron Donald retired. So
Yep.
a lot of these legends were getting old as hell.
We're getting old. I'm about to say, yeah, that
Yeah,
means something for us.
yeah. So all these legends retiring. It's crazy. Jason Kelsey broke the Eagles record for consecutive starts. Honestly, it was like 170 something in a row. It was a lot. And then Fletcher Cox missed 6 games in 12 years. So these are two
Yeah.
pillars of our team. Offense and defense, locker room, captain. So it's going to be a new era in Philly. So I'm
Right.
excited to see how it goes, but also kind of after last year's collapse, it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see how we play out. Um, but yeah, um, besides that, Kevin Byard got released, Devontae Maddox got released. I thought there was a chance that Josh Sweat or Hassan Reddick were going to get traded, and they still might. But breaking news today: Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, just kind of took a pay cut to stay with the Eagles. I think it's like a
Right.
$6 million pay cut. So the Eagles signed Bryce Huff from the Jets. He's an up and
Yeah.
coming player, but when they signed him, I kind of thought that the Eagles were kind of sending a message to Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, being like, "We're paying this guy your money.
Right.
Like we're bringing him in. We're giving him a 3-year deal because you guys didn't produce at the end of last year, and we're going to ship one of you off." Is how it seemed. But the fact that Josh Sweat is still here just shows that I guess he either really wanted to prove that he's going to, produce for us next year,
Right.
or the Eagles just kind of went back on their word and it's just like, you know what, maybe we do need
Depth.
more depth there
Yeah.
because Josh Huff is a good player, but it's easy to just kind of come in and play, kind of just come in and rush the passer, which was his main role. He wasn't like the main guy, so it's easy to just come in on 3rd and long and go get a sack. I mean, it's
Exactly.
not easy, but
Yeah.
he made it
You're
look easy.
exactly. Yeah. You're more, 100%. Whereas some of the linemen are kind of probably like 70%. They could have done a hurry up. It's easier to come in on a third down and just go full speed than to do it, 3 to 4 times in a row.
Yeah, yeah. He had 10 sacks, 21 QB hits this past year. But in his first 3 seasons in the league, he had 7.5 sacks and 22 QB hits. So it's like, is he
Mm.
on the up and up, or was last year just a good season? That's a
Outlier
little,
year.
yeah, it's a little something to keep in mind. Um, I would assume the Eagles, did their work and hope that he's going to be an ascending player because the 3-year deal is no joke. So I
No.
know it's like
Yeah.
backloaded and they can get out of it, but still.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's just one of the few things. I'll get into more players, but I want to turn it over to you now. You had a big signing as well. I want to get into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So, like I said, kind of old news at this point, but still got to touch on it. We signed Russ. We let go. We released Mitch Trubisky, which I felt that was going to be, a move after he got benched for Mason Rudolph, who was our QB3. So I kind of felt like that was heading towards that. Um, and just a lot of talk about Kenny not really being in the right headspace after he came back from his ankle injury, and then they didn't insert him back into that starting role. Um, Accuracy issues, spinning out of the pocket into sacks. A lot of stuff that um, him being his age, coming out of Pitt at 24 years old, things you shouldn't be doing. So I felt like a change was coming. I heard a lot of rumblings around, uh, you know, Twitter/X about stuff like that, and then we get Russ, sign him to the vet minimum. I think it's a decent move. I know a lot of people think that Russ is washed, and they have a lot of negative, opinions about Russ. But he had a great year last year. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Um, I just don't feel like he got a fair shake that first year in Denver, just for the fact that Nathaniel Hackett never should have been a head coach, in my opinion. That
Right.
was kind of something that I feel like was kind of set up for an Aaron Rodgers trade, possibly, if during that time Aaron Rodgers was kind of rumored to be wanting to go there, and so I just don't feel like he got a fair shake. And then it came out that he had a labrum injury that he was dealing with that season. So it was kind of like, he's playing through an injury for his team and also playing for a dude that really shouldn't have been there. And then last year, even though him and, Sean didn't really get along, he did play better. And so now he's with a coach who, him and Mike Tomlin seem to be on the same page. He has weapons. So it's kind of like, let's see what he can do. So I really liked, that we were trying to at least attack the quarterback position, try to upgrade, see what we can do there, because in the past the Steelers are not very we're not very aggressive with our moves, even though there might be a position of need, something that's not going right. It's kind of like we get there when we get there, but now it's kind of like we're jumping on things before it gets too bad, which is nice to see.
Yeah, and
So
just the fact that Russ did take the minimum is big for y'all because the Broncos are
right,
paying the rest of
him
his
39
contract.
million for him to
Yeah,
play for
so
us, basically.
yeah,
So
so yeah,
so
not worth the risk, worth the flyer at least.
right,
I,
if
I
he's not,
personally, yeah, I personally
yeah.
would have liked to see y'all make that move for Justin Fields, but
That's what I thought too. I thought that was
yeah,
going to happen, but you know what? You know, we were going to have to pay him regardless for that 50 year. It would have been obviously way more than $1 million, and so you're kind of stuck with that if he's not who you think he's supposed to be turning into. Um, and with Russ, it's no risk, no reward really at the same time because like, all right, if he's bad, then he's gone next year. If he's good, okay, maybe we sign him to maybe 2 to 3 more years so he can keep being that bridge until we can get our guy for that 10 to 12 to 15 year mark. So it's like, I would have loved for that too, but you gotta do what's best for the overall franchise, and so I felt like they kind of played it safe where, if it goes positively, it could be good for the franchise. So, um, but yeah, some of these other players getting released, our center Mason Cole, um, our former starting right tackle Chooks Okafor, who got replaced by our rookie first round pick Broderick Jones, Percy Harvin, our punter, Mitch, as I mentioned, Mitch Trubisky, Keanu Neal. He failed his physical last week, and so he was rumored to be completely healthy at the end of our playoff run, and so we're making the playoffs, I should say, and it turns out that his injury is a little bit more severe than they thought, so they released him. Patrick Peterson got released, and then Allen Robinson. So it's rumored that we kind of want to see if Patrick would be interested in coming back for less money, for a restructure. That's something that I'm not too interested in seeing happen, but we'll see if they end up doing doing that. But yeah, so pickups for us after the Russ deal. The first day of free agency, everyone's kind of starting to do their thing, and Cameron Johnston, punter from the Texans, pops up, and it's like, all right, so is this going to be one of the Steelers free agencies, like where we just do weird stuff and not aggressive? So we got a 32-year-old Australian punter from the Texans, but we did need, you know, a punter because we did release ours, and he was, he always got us into really bad field positions. So it was a position of need, but we didn't do anything the whole rest of that day. And then the next day we signed Patrick Queen, one of the top free agent inside backers. Never thought that we would, get that done. I was kind of hearing that we would possibly be looking at Jerome Baker from Miami or Blake Cashman from the Texans, and those are two dudes that kind of would fit our defense. I even saw, Drew Tranquil, who I wasn't, from the Chiefs, wasn't really a big fan of that, but to get Patrick Queen, especially to get it from a rival from the Ravens, was just, that was a crazy move to me. I like that. It was really aggressive. Um,
yeah,
3 years, 31 million, I believe, and not terrible. That's a lot lower than his linebacker mate Roquan Smith. I think they signed him 5 years to 100 million. So that's definitely not terrible on the cap for us. So there was that signing, and then we trade Deontay Johnson. That was something that we talked about. I think a little bit during the season, there was something that was coming out about that. I mean, you had talked about it, and then the rumblings kind of started to speed up, and so we trade him. We give uh, Carolina our seventh. We get their sixth round pick for this year, and then we get Dante Jackson out of LSU. And
yeah,
so we did need a corner opposite of JPJ, Joe Porter Jr. Um, I like him. He's had injury, issues. He's a smaller corner. He's 5'10". He doesn't play in the slot. He hasn't played in the slot. Last time I checked, since he was at LSU. So, and he's 28 now. So it's been I think he's turning 29. So it's been a while since he played in the slot. So I believe he is going to be our CB2 opposite of JPJ. Um, if he can be anything that he was at the beginning of his career with the injuries, I think we can get some value out of him. He's a fast guy. He's very good in press, even though he's smaller. He uses his speed really, really well there. So I like the pickup as long as he can stay healthy. So
Yeah.
That's
How did you feel about Deontay Johnson like during the season? People were questioning his effort, his blocking. How did you and Steelers fans like perceive him and feel like he like played like because as a objective fan, you see a clip on Twitter and it's like, oh yeah, he's clearly loafing, but it's like, is that really how he is? Was it just a bad play? Like, how do you feel about him like that?
right, right. Yeah, so there's a lot of Steelers fans that are, on one side, and then there's Steelers fans that are on the other with the fact that, he's a selfish guy, he's not even that good anyways, and this and that, trying to make it seem like he's like an AB type of guy. And like I just never got that, but some franchises that are spoiled like ours are, they want to see perfection all the time. And like that's just not the reality. So for me, um, he's a wide receiver one. His routes are crisp. He's always going to be open. Doesn't have elite speed, but he's fast enough. Um, he had the year where he had the drops. I believe it was 2021. He had the drops, but that became an outlier as well because after that, I think his drop rate was about 7%, 6%. It wasn't anywhere near the way it was in 2021, and so I like his play. His play has never been something that was, uh, I had a problem with, but the effort this year during the season upset me just because there was times where like he just wasn't blocking, or there was when we were playing the Browns, he doesn't go after that fumble. And it looks like he sees the ball. Now he says after the game he never saw it, but it's like it's hearsay, basically. Um, but then I hear reports after he gets traded that during wide receiver meetings, he's calling out the quarterbacks. Kenny, Mitch, because they were obviously going back and forth when it had to do with injuries with Kenny. Mitch was in for a little bit, and he's just, basically the story is that he's pointing out, I'm open, and no, and you guys can't get me the ball. There's times where they said that defensive players had to come into the offensive uh, player meeting for the wide receivers and calm him down, and so
Mm,
these were all kept in house. Credit to
yeah,
Tomlin.
yeah, I
He's
was
a
gonna
guy
say
that
that. Yeah,
that's
he's always
that's
gonna keep
definitely
that shit
right.
under wraps.
And that's exactly why I feel like we never heard about it because I'm always scouring for any type of info. But when I
Right.
heard that, and this is a source from um, the guy's name is Derek Barnes. He writes for the Steelers. He's a draft analyst for the Steelers, and this is sources coming straight to him saying like this is stuff that was kept under wraps, but now that he's gone, we can kind of talk about it. And it was just like, Cam Hayward, Minka, dudes who are not even playing on his side of the ball, got to go to him and be like, man, look, this is just what it is. And at this point, man, you're a Steeler. You've been a Steeler since 2018. You
19.
should
Yeah.
19. You
Yeah.
should know what the criteria is. And like I understand that a lot of it was frustration, but at the end of the day, you got to understand that there's always going to be, the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not always going to be that way. And you're mentoring a young wide receiver and George Pickens, and him seeing you act that way, the veteran, that kind of gives him a little bit of leeway to be like, you know what, well, like I feel like I'm better than you talent wise, so why can't I act that way? And if you're getting away with it, then I can get away with it. So it's like
Right.
I kind of felt like the trade was he wanted to be traded, but also we wanted to get him away from GP. I feel like that was, before he can influence him anymore, get him
Yeah.
away from this, and we brought in a guy in Russ who was gonna probably like take him under his wing and, you know, show him kind of how to be a more mature guy. So
In a not corny way, hopefully.
hopefully, yeah, but who knows how that'll go. But
Yeah, no,
um
especially with a guy like George Pickens, who coming into the league had concerns with a lot of off the field shit.
off the
So
field stuff. So
you don't want that in the locker room. Yeah, for
at
sure.
all. Missing meetings, that's another thing that I heard that kind of influenced, because they would hang out together, obviously. And so JP would be with Deontay and their meetings would be running late or they'd be running late for a meeting. And it's just like, you can't do that, especially being a vet in the NFL. So
Yeah.
I'll say that, for what we got back, I think a lot of Steelers fans thought we were going to get like a third or a fourth for him, and that never was going to be the case based off of what he, his value was. Um, but so, getting the sixth round pick for me wasn't really a big thing. But getting Deontay, if he can be, or Dante, I should say, Dante Jackson, if he can be what he was in the beginning of his career, I feel like it's a good trade because Panthers get their wide receiver one for now, until they take another one possibly. But we get a whole kind of filled for the time being in that second corner role opposite of JPJ. So
Yeah,
got to
definitely.
see how it unfolds.
Yeah. Um, I forgot what you were saying earlier. You were saying something about drops, but I just pulled up his drop percentages over the years. 2019, 9.2%, 2020, 12.9, 2021, 4.5, 2022, 7.5, and then 2023, 3.8. So,
Wow.
yeah, he's
I'm seeing
definitely
something in real
on the up
time. You're
up.
never gonna believe this.
What's up?
Kenny Pickett traded to the Eagles.
Actually,
There's no way I am not playing you right now at all.
I would pull up Twitter right now.
This is something that I thought was
Send
a
me that.
joke.
Send me that.
Yeah. Oh
Oh,
man.
wow. I'm
Oh
seeing it
man.
too. Steelers get number 98 and the 2025 seventh round pick. Eagles get Kenny Pickett and number 120. Similar to what Washington got for Sam Howell, according to Adam
Right.
Schefter.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's crazy because I was gonna segue into how do some of these people on our teams feel about specifically the QB position, the front office bringing in guys that you're supposed to be, competing with, but you kind of know is your replacement. Now, Russ had already said that he texted Kenny right when he knew he was going to sign with the Steelers. Everything seemed to be good, and people were saying like, you know what, maybe he can learn from Russ, and maybe he comes back and plays. How is he going to react to Russ being there? And so we kind of see. I don't think this is the decision from the front office. I think this is a Kenny Pickett thing, saying like, I feel like I can play and I should be the guy, but it's like
Yeah.
you guys have your guy, so
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like he never really got a fair shake. Came into the league with a guy who shouldn't have been an offensive coordinator. And then once he was gone, got kind of banged up, and they already were ready to move on from him. So
right,
I don't blame him for wanting out if that was
yeah,
the case. That's interesting. The Eagles really value having a good backup QB after fucking winning a Super Bowl with one. So they always feel
right,
like QB is
right.
really important to them. And Jalen Hurts has been banged up basically every year. So very interesting move. Um, what are the odds that happens while we're recording this
We're
first
recording our
podcast?
first episode.
That's great. Wow. Interesting.
But to the point, I know obviously you're a big no drafting high backers, running backs, paying them. If you guys will learn about Corey, that's how he feels. And you know what? He's taught me a lot as to why you should feel that way in certain circumstances. So,
Yeah.
I have kind of came to his side on that.
Yeah. And you
But
see the league following the trends over the years,
yeah, right, right,
you
right.
know.
But how do you feel? Saquon, Devin Bush, how do you feel about those signings? Those are two things like just happened to come to y'all's team this season. So
Yeah, nah. The Saquon one as a fan, you're excited. That's the guy that everybody knows.
yeah,
He's probably the greatest running back prospect coming out of college ever, according to anyone. Like,
right,
so he's had some injuries, but 2 years away from an ACL, he will be this coming year. So I think that helps a lot. Me personally, when I tore my ACL, like I didn't feel right until 2 years after too. So I think he'll have a bounce back year, and our offensive line is clearly an upgrade.
definitely, definitely.
He's a true three down back, and hold on, I got some stats here for that. It's Warren Sharp got here. The Giants run block win percentage, according to ESPN, was 31st in 2023 and 22nd in 2022. And for the
Okay,
Eagles in 2023, it was number one. And in 2022, it was number
okay,
two. Giants PFF run blocking grade 2023 was 30th. The Eagles in 2023 was third. So
okay.
as a running back,
Big
you would
upgrade.
love to see that huge
Yeah,
upgrade. He's going to have giant holes to run through, do his thing.
and he
You
still
know,
has his speed there. I'm hearing
yeah,
people saying like he's not the same. His body might be a little tore up as running backs' bodies tend to. But when you see him break away, he still has the same
He still
gear
got
that
it.
he hits. So it's like,
Yeah.
man, come on now. Yeah.
Yeah. And, uh, Kellen Moore was able to cook with Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, so
Great pickup for you
Saquon,
guys.
yeah, so Saquon in the pass game should be and could be a big weapon. He's not just someone that, because first of all, Jalen Hurts doesn't even like to throw checkdowns to running backs, so we don't have to assume that's going to be the only time he's targeting Saquon. Saquon's a player who you can target down the field like a McCaffrey, like
Yeah.
you know, a running back like that who is a true like slot receiver when he's
Right.
out wide. So, um, but just looking into the numbers and shit, um, he was fourth in receiving grade per PFF his rookie year, of course, like among running backs. But since then, he hasn't even been top 35 in receiving grades since then. So that's just
Wow.
one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, Saquon, he can catch. But then when you look into it, it's like, oh well, maybe he's not the receiver we think he is. But
Yeah.
we'll see what Kellen Moore can
That comes
do.
with production though too. Like,
Yeah,
is he being like to your point? Is he being thrown the checkdowns when he is wide open there? Are they just
right.
going to try to bomb it out, or is a quarterback going to try to run when they could just give him the yards type of thing? So
Exactly, and
yeah,
it's totally different when even when you're getting targeted in the pass game, it's like he's the only guy we're going to cover. He's one of
right, right, right,
three guys on the Giants we care about. Versus the Eagles, pick your poison. You want to worry
yeah,
about Saquon. We got AJ Brown, Devontae,
right,
Dallas Goddard. So
right, yeah, definitely.
yeah, as an Eagles fan, I'm hyped off that move. Um, and then the other thing, your favorite stat, although with Saquon last one, elusive rating. it's it's basically the stat PFF has. It's like um, missed tackles divided by like runs and receptions multiplied by yards per contact per attempt. So it's just like when you're getting the ball, how often are you like breaking tackles and getting yards? And Saquon's ranks from 2018 to 2023 is 7th, 12th, 51st, 48th, 49th, and 51st. So that's another one of those things where it's like, okay, is he not the same player and not elusive like he used to be? Or is it, a part of being on the fucking Giants? He can't break tackles because they're keying on him. As soon as he gets the
Yeah,
ball, he's getting, those type of things. So it'll just be interesting to see how he produces in a whole new system with a whole new team and
right.
offensive line. But last point with that, um, it's easy to get excited and to be like, oh, plug and fit, perfect. But Jason Kelsey's being gone is going to be a huge loss, and we have no idea what our center situation is going to be like. Cam Jurgens is going to slide in there, and he's a good player, but Jason Kelsey did a lot for us, and
Yeah,
he was a very athletic center. You could pull with him. You could do so many things. He was calling out, blitzers and helping protection. So
right.
we'll see. It
Adjustment
sounds
period
good.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
our offensive line will be good, but you lost a Hall of Fame player. That's nothing like to just scoff about and think like, oh yeah, the Eagles always have a good O line. They're gonna be good. It's like, okay, well, I think so too, but
right. We'll see.
we'll see. We'll
All
see.
right.
But yeah, and then Devin
Your
White.
favorite.
Yeah, it's it's always interesting when you hear about someone getting signed, and the first thing people say is like, "Oh, yeah, he's a former first round pick, 26 years old, athletic." It's like, why are we talking about that? Where are the stats? Where are the grades? Like,
Right, right.
if the first thing you talk about is like where he was drafted and how young he is, that's how you know it's like he hasn't been playing like he used to, and he got benched
Right.
in the playoffs for KJ Britt, I believe, or whoever one of their other linebackers
One
was.
of those guys. Yeah.
He played like 12 snaps in their playoff game. So,
Right, right. And there was
but
already kind of rumblings of him possibly leaving, and he had said he wanted to stay, but that was kind of already, you could see that was kind of happening.
yeah, so he is a great athlete. I think he ran like a 4.4 in the 40. Had almost like a 40-inch vert.
Yeah.
Um,
Great athlete.
yeah, low three cone, shuttle, all that. But as a run defender, Um, as a coverage guy, one of the like lowest rated in the league per PFF,
Right.
almost since he entered the league, um, which you don't like to see. And I don't know if that's just a product of the scheme he was in or him as
Right.
a player. We'll see. Fangio might have been like, "Yo, I want him. I'm going to do this with him," and they're like, "All right,
Right.
bet. We're going to send him on blitzes. He can rush the passer. He's athletic, obviously. So
Right.
um,
Yeah. Because to
we'll
your point,
see."
what you said about his numbers, that doesn't make sense. Like he's a very athletic linebacker, and that though what you just said does not translate to what he's been doing. So it has to be
Right?
something, and you want to believe in getting him that it's not him. You know.
Yeah. You would think someone who runs a 4-4 can cover and be
Right.
near a defender or a
Right. And he's a
receiver.
big dude. You know, he's as big as some of these running backs, some of these people that are blocking him. Big guy. So it's like big, strong, fast guy, but you can't get around the ball carrier. You can't cover. I don't know.
Yeah. Um, just to note those grades. 2019, he was 81st out of 100 linebackers. 2020, he was 82nd out of 96. 2021, he was 91st out of 94. 2022, he was 83rd out of 90th. And then 2023, 87th out of 89. So
Damn.
just rough grades.
Right.
Which PFF grades aren't everything, but it's just one of those things where you just have to keep in mind. Is he not grading because he's a bad player, or is he just not producing? Because sometimes someone in PFF system can grade well, but we know they're not a better player. Like um, like linebackers, especially. Like last year, Bobby Wagner was top 10 in PFF grades. Like, okay, yeah, he might have produced well last year, but is he still the player he was? Is he still
No. Yeah.
one of the top best linebackers in the league? No. So
Right. Right.
I just
Yeah.
kind of like to keep those stats in mind, but I don't make it the
The be
end
all end
all
all
be
thing.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. The
yeah,
eye in the sky never lies, and that's why the film. That's for me is the film. What are you consistent? And then the film, the stats. If you're constantly always stopping the ball carrier behind, if you're recording these interceptions, okay, then maybe some of the PFF stats might not translate to that because as you've told me before, one play can affect a PFF grade, but
yeah.
at least he would have the stats to back it up, and that's not the case. The PFF grades are bad, and so are your stats. So
Right.
so we kind of can say, yeah, that kind of aligns.
Yeah, yeah. And in this Fangio scheme, D linemen are asked to like take on double teams, plug up gaps, and those linebackers are going to have free range to, make plays in the run
Right.
game and do their thing. So you want an athletic guy who can fill a hole, make a tackle, do those things, but he hasn't been consistently grading high in run defense. So it's like, again, is that the product of his scheme? Is it like lack of ability, or is he just needs a new fresh start and
New scenery.
can
Yeah.
can cook?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So with that, you know, oh yeah, I'm saying like in terms of like those linemen taking on double teams, you need a linebacker who's going to be able to be athletic, and we have him, and Nakobe Dean is still someone that we haven't really seen. So those are
Right.
two athletic guys who, in theory, could make those plays and do those things I'm
Be a
talking
good
about
tandem for
here.
y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we re-signed Chauncey Gardner Johnson.
Right.
That's another guy who can play like a slot. Put him in as a safety. He can come down,
Right.
fill the holes. So I kind of see the vision with the Eagles.
Yeah.
What they're trying
Not
to do.
terrible. Not terrible
Yeah,
moves.
yeah.
They make
I would.
sense in theory for right now.
Yeah, I would still like another safety we can rely on and more at
Right.
linebacker because we also signed Zach Bond, who hasn't really done much in the league, but that's some depth at linebacker that we desperately need. So
Right. Right.
um, you know, it can't hurt to invest in safety and linebacker right now, especially because we never do in the draft. So uh, I would ideally like to sign maybe one or two more guys if we can. Like Justin Simmons is still out there.
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
take that, especially because he is someone who produced very well under Vic Fangio when he was with the Broncos. So
Right. playing at a high
Seem
level still.
yeah, yeah. He's 30 years old, but he still has a lot of juice left and can fit into that
Definitely.
scheme. Um, but yeah, how do you feel about Saquon and Devin Bush coming to the Eagles as an objective fan of the NFL?
I mean, I was huge. I mean, I watched a lot of Saquon's games. That bowl game versus SC, where
Yeah, that was great.
everything. Watching him. I'm not gonna compare him to Reggie Bush or anything like that, but like watching him brought that type of excitement. Like this running back is doing everything, kind of how Reggie did it. So I always been a fan of Saquon. Um, playing running back myself, it's like, yeah, this dude, he's legit. So as long as he his injuries are in order, his body, I think he'll be great for y'all because to your point, um, that's just another problem that people have to worry about. And like AJ and Devontae are gonna get their attention already, and they're gonna already try to key in on Dallas, but it's like you can't you can't cover everybody. So at the end of the day, I feel like that could be a lot of great third and maybe fourth downs for you guys because you're not gonna always have the tush push. Sometimes it's gonna be a 4th and 4, something like that you're not gonna run that play. But if everyone else is manned up on those other guys and who you gonna have a linebacker. It better be one of the top linebackers in the league guarding him though, because he
Right.
has routes. So I think it's a great pickup for you guys. You're getting a high value dude as long as he's on the field. So I like it. Devin Bush, man.
Devin White. Yeah,
Devin White. That's right, Devin
yeah,
White. Man, talking with you more of on the PFF side, the grading. I don't really like the signing on that. And the reason why is because when I first seen him coming out of LSU, I'm thinking this is going to be a top linebacker in the
yeah,
league. And then when
yeah,
he's in Tampa, they wouldn't Super Bowl how he's playing. Seeing the dude when they're on the because obviously when you're watching, you don't really realize how big and strong these dudes. Seeing him get interviewed when they're at the parade, I'm like, this dude is huge, man. What the
yeah.
heck? Already
Right.
already knowing that he runs what he runs or whatever. They were showing him in his backyard. He had horses and stuff like that. Dude is built crazy, and so then learning more of the PFF grading, from you and kind of just looking into that, seeing that, I'm just like, all that doesn't match up with that, man. And so
Right.
the name and the guy that looks and sounds great, but like, what's going on with that other stuff? So I'll
Yeah.
say I don't like it for that reason. But if anybody can turn it around and make him what he was supposed to be, it would be y'all. And to your point, you have Vic Fangio too. So it's like if he weren't to, if he's not going to be what he was supposed to be, it is going to be 1,000% on him because he's going to be in the right environment. He's going to have the right
Yeah.
coordinator.
You
So
have the opportunity to start right away. There's no
right,
one
so
there.
right, and so it's all going to be on him. So um, not hating on him or anything like that. Definitely want to see him do well and see y'all get a backer that can be there for whatever 3 to 5 years, the rest of his career, however long he ends up playing. But there's that nervousness with the other things that are there. So we'll see how it goes. I'm wishing nothing for the best for him, but that would probably be my only concern with that.
Yeah, for sure. If the, I feel like if the average fan has heard of this player, it's like that's someone that's always I'm always like I'm a little worried. If everyone's like, oh, Devin Bush, Saquon during the season, Julio Jones, you guys signed. It's like,
Right.
yeah, let's we got problems if the
Right.
average fan is like hyped off these dudes. So
Right.
we'll see with time. Um, but yeah, um, you got anything else regarding free agency with your team?
Man, other than just what happened, that's probably
Yeah,
that's
we'll
all.
probably have to we'll
We'll,
probably have to
we'll,
get
we'll,
into that next week.
yeah. In
Yeah,
the next episode, we'll get more into that. Definitely, if more doesn't happen, I'm sure more will
yeah,
happen, so we can include all of that. But let's transition into our anything we need to get off our chest
yeah, yeah. Grinds
type of
my
trend.
gears.
Right.
Yeah.
What grinds our gears segment.
All right. Uh, You want to start it off? What you got? Any hot
Man,
takes?
um, I had two, but I'll touch on one.
Uh-huh.
Because it's more current. Uh, all these moves that the Bears are doing for everyone is saying for Caleb, and I believe they're
Myself
doing.
included. Yes.
We all believe it's for Caleb,
Yeah.
but what grinds my gears is like, where was this when you drafted your boy, when you drafted
Mm-hmm.
Justin? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And who knows if we are at where we're at right now if y'all do that before. And that is the whole point when you draft a dude, is to, especially when you obviously when you're a rookie, you want him to be comfortable. He's
Yeah.
coming out of Ohio State where he has all of these weapons. Okay. You transition to the league. We're not saying it's gonna be like that. You know, when you go to Alabama, you have all these dudes, and you go to the team that probably is not going to be the best you're going to have. But you got to have some things in place, and I feel like they didn't do that at all. And so what's grinding my gears is, yeah, it's good that now you're seeing the error of your ways, and you're gonna go the other way and try to do it better this time. But what about old boy? You know, he deserved that same treatment. He deserved better, and so that kind of, that's annoying, especially if you're a fan of Justin, especially if you are Justin. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Why didn't y'all do that for me?
Yeah. He and that's the thing. He played well enough to end the year to deserve a shot to be a starter somewhere, and the league is treating him like he is garbage. Though based on like the fact that no one's traded for him so far, at least, which isn't fair to him because, like you said, he didn't come into a perfect situation, and
No,
now the Bears are like getting set up to do that for someone else. It's like,
right,
let me get my fair shake. Let me get my shit
right.
off. So
And
yeah,
I'll say
I
lastly,
agree.
with that, if y'all gonna do that for somebody else, the least y'all can do is get me somewhere where I can start. At least you got what y'all could have done is let me get ahead of all these other QBs that the Gardner Minshew's to Raiders, the Russes to Pittsburgh, all these guys that were getting picked up. Let me get ahead of that if this is what's gonna full transparency, because I believe Ryan Poles was saying that we're being very honest with Justin. Anything that we're doing, he is going to be aware of. If all that is true, I could tell you right now, if we were to ask Justin if he appreciates what's going on right now, the answer is no. So if you were going to do all this for Caleb, and the whole thing was going to be, yeah, it's time for Caleb. Okay, let him go out and be on a team first, and not be in this position where is he going to start now? You know.
Right.
So yeah, that's mine for sure.
Yeah. Um, I think mine is going to be that I think kickoffs are dead. I think that from this point on, we should just abolish what we had for kickoffs and do the XFL shit and just go completely new, Because now you watch a game, I don't know the numbers, but like I feel like it's very high that a lot of kickoffs are touchbacks. It's just not the same. There's no juice. You don't ever think a kick's going to the house. And when it does, you're shocked and it's so
Right.
exciting. And that used to be
Yeah.
like such a huge part of the game. You
Yeah.
think of like the Super Bowls now, the last few I feel like have been touchbacks, but then you go back to when Devin Hester took the opening kick to the house. Like that was one of the most exciting things in Super Bowl. Was,
Right.
started it.
And taking the position away too, I'll say, like, some dudes, that's their only contribution to a team
Right.
is being a punt returner or a kick returner. And to your point, if that's what's going to be going on for the kickoffs, then you're basically taking that position away.
Yeah.
You're taking
So
away that person's paycheck.
yeah. So I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm all for trying the XFL rule where it's two people or two teams, the kickoff return team, and the kickoff team. They're lined up 5 yards apart, and then the kicker kicks the ball, and then once it's caught, then they can start blocking and doing that. So it's guaranteed return every
Right.
time, and if the ball goes out of bounds, instead of instead of the team getting at the 20 or 25-yard line, they get at the 35. So it's a huge penalty for the kickoff team, basically, to have a touchback now, so we get returns every single time, and we bring that excitement back because it's like right now special teams it's just punting and field goals, but the return game is just kind of dead. So
Yeah, yeah.
I want to see that back, and then with that, the Eagles introduced a rule that would get rid of onside kicks and make it a 4th and 20 from the team's own 20-yard line, which would be the new alternative to onside kicks. Because if they change the kickoff rule, then you can do onside kicks the way it was traditionally. So
That's right.
that would be an alternative, which could be interesting too. I mean, there has to be a
Yeah.
way for teams to get the ball back if they're down and want to get an onside, but I don't know the
Yeah.
perfect solution for it. But that is just
Right.
something the Eagles introduced. So how do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
I mean, when you see the on, most of the time, they say when you know the onside is coming, the percentages is like the team that
Yeah, and they changed the
you
rules, so you can't run up and do it like you used to,
right.
or like overload a
So
side.
I guess I mean, 4th and 20 is like they have plays for mid to downfield, so there's
Yeah,
plays there. Some people would say, well, like, who's ever gonna get that? Well, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Like, there's
right.
dudes in the league that have the arm, that have the precision, and then have the players to do it.
Yeah,
I think it's
and
gonna be
if
more of people
yeah,
being kind of like, we're always used to seeing the onside, so how could you take that away? Where it's like, man, not everything's gonna stay the same, bro. Like,
yeah,
it's a change. A little bit of change is okay. So for
yeah,
me, I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm not gonna be extremely upset if that's what
yeah.
happens. So
And doing it from your own 20, that's if you don't get that, you're cooked. That's game. It's
yeah,
fourth quarter. You're down three. Yeah,
yeah,
that's it. So that could be exciting. But my hot take, I guess, or what I want to get off my chest is that kickoffs are fucking boring, and we need to do something to fix it.
yeah. No, that's that. I would agree. And
Yeah,
like I said, it's unfair to the kick returners too. If that part of the game is that's basically you could get let go if you're on some of these 1 year prove it deals like some of these dudes are. Having it be different where or I guess how it was before, being able to return it, and you're that guy at that position, you easily could show in that year like, yeah, you need to sign me or I'm gonna go do this on a different team, but you can't do
yeah,
that anymore.
no,
So it has to there has to be some type of change to make it where at least they feel like they're have a fair shot to make these teams. So
yeah, right on. Well, I think that that about does it for the first
yeah,
episode of the Steel Birds podcast.
yes sir.
Um, we'll be here weekly, coming to
Every
you with
Friday.
Eagles and Steelers news and just little updates across the league. We'll probably get into other teams as the off season continues, and just rate, review, subscribe. I think we're going to be on Apple, Spotify, probably YouTube too, and catch us on socials. So, I'm at It's Your Boy CK on basically everything. And Brock, what you got? What's your
Yeah, mine is
handle?
gonna just be Brock_IV, Brock4 on everything as well. So you can find me there too.
Yeah. So give us a follow. Let us know, if you want us to talk about some stuff, future episodes. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.
Yep.
Yes, sir.